All right. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We are following up on a conversation around resonant leadership. We're going to take it to the next step of what's in the way of your superpower. I've talked with Dr. Hall, and we'll talk a little bit more today about there being almost an uncanny ability to read people's mind in becoming a resonant leader because you're really in tune with what they're saying and what their objectives are. But he'll elaborate this on a little bit more. But what I want to talk about today is what things can get in the way of using that superpower, being a leader that is employing resonant leaderships. And we're going to have that discussion with Dr. Hall, who is a business psychologist and executive coach, a multi-time author and a public speaker. And where the rubber meets the road is the neuro nerd side of him, where we really understand biologically, I don't know about physiologically, chemically, or what have you, but how this all works. So the application side of it. So with that, we'll bring Dr. Hall in. How you doing today, Dr. Hall?
I'm doing really well. Grateful to be here.
Yeah. We're grateful to have you. I'm excited to see how we can help folks identify what things might be getting in the way of such a powerful skill. And I'm really curious to get your feedback on that.
Sure, absolutely.
But before that, let's do some real quick housekeeping items here. For those of you that I haven't met, my name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, also known as MHC Realty. Our sponsor for today is the perfect real estate business, where we're really, in large part with Dr. Hall, trying to reinvent real estate and bring the mindset to the forefront for us as agents and LOs to our clients. Obviously, bringing business coaching, life coaching, mentoring, training, things like that, and just a lot of other skills and tools to your real estate business. So with that, let's talk a little bit about. Well, I'll just tell you where this came from as far as my mindset came from, and that was just simply kind of an awareness after that episode to say what things could get in the way of me doing this well, and then also what things could other people have that maybe issues that I don't have. So I'm kind of curious as we walk through this, what your experience has been, challenges to being a good resonant leader. Is that do you
Yeah,
see that a lot? These
you know,
challenges?
I fortunately am working with people who are self-selecting for the most part, and so they
Mm,
already have some skills. The I would say the one thing you don't have on your list that I think is important to see is lack of practice.
interesting.
Becoming a resonant leader is a skill like everything else. And if you
Mm,
want to be good at it, it comes from interpersonal interactions with age-related peers in an unstructured environment. So
yeah.
let's go back to it. So it's negotiating disagreements with
Yep.
age-related peers in an unstructured environment. So essentially, it's when you're on the playground choosing up sides and trying to resolve hurt feelings. When you're 10 years old, that's where you start,
Mm,
and then it goes on in unstructured activities with age-related peers where you're negotiating differences. So that's being a part of clubs and social groups
hmm
where you're trying to interact meaningfully with one another and disagree and work to come to some resolution. When you've got a structured environment, then you have an authority telling you how to interact, and so you
Okay.
obey someone else's rules. You don't learn this. When it's not age related, then you've got someone who's older, someone who's younger. Usually the older person's going to win. So
hmm
the younger person, you don't have to, you don't have that same negotiation. So unstructured, unsupervised negotiation with age related peers. And so if everybody's agreeing on everything, then you've got nothing to resolve. But when you're negotiating differences, that's when it really matters that you understand another person's perspective, are able to persuade them over to a different point of view.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Well, let's give it some context here.
Sure.
Obviously, this is for leaders in general, but specifically in our industry where folks are dealing with high anxiety situations, right? Buying or selling a home, right?
Yeah.
Not trivial. Lots of things going on where we can almost anticipate it's not if the anxiety is going to go up, but when and how high, right?
Right.
That's usually what comes to my mind when we talk about a resonant leader is how do we help that person overcome, identifying what things are anxiety provoking, how to approach them about that, but preceding my ability to help them is making sure that I get out of my own way, right? And I think what I heard you say is, the practice of metacognition, right? Thinking about my thinking that,
Hmm.
hey, I'm inclined in this anxious moment to flee, fight, freeze, or whatever my response
Right.
is. And I gotta address that first,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because some of them are more or less conducive to that, engaging, with my client or not.
In that
But
particular situation, yeah.
yeah, but the process and the practice of metacognition, like you said, is like I gotta always know that I need to know what I'm going to do because I got to manage that before I can help manage my clients' emotions.
Right. It's managing yourself first so that you're no longer a distraction to the situation, and then you can then engage in empathy, or uh, which is the ability to accurately assess the other person's thoughts and emotions based on their external behavior, or imagining how they might feel or
Yeah.
think.
So the more you practice at that, the quicker you get to the position where you can help.
Right. So once you get to the empathy part, then it gets to the resonance part. So once you're able to take someone else's mental perspective, then you can start to communicate with them or interact with them in ways that draw them from that unproductive perspective, that unproductive set of emotions, to a new set of thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
And that's the resonant part, where
Yeah.
you join them with the way they feel, but then you draw them to a new place of
Yeah.
their thinking and their feeling.
Yeah. Hopefully this doesn't take too long, but I think it'd be a good example of a situation that could really go off the rails if you don't handle it right, and that's the inspection. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
somebody's going to buy, let's just say $500,000 house. So you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Um, I try as best I can to intercept the emotions that are going to come here, right? Because I know that every inspector is going to come up with something, right? Because they're getting paid hundreds of dollars to go look at this house and no house is perfect. And so I'm going to tell my client, hey, this is their job to find a problem with this house. Even if it's brand new, just
Right.
got built, I can guarantee you something got missed. Now you have a mid-century home that's, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. Uh,
Right.
got a lot of problems. So anyway, so preempting that, saying, hey, we're going to look at the report. These are the lenses we look at, right? Health,
Yep.
safety, deferred maintenance. Like there's going to be a lot, but let's condense where that goes. And then, when you get that inspection report, because they're going to usually get it first because they paid for it and it's online and they download it and they're really anxious to go see it, right?
Right.
Eh,
And what's I mean, what's under the hood? What am I going to find that's going
yep.
to kill this deal? And they're going to look for something that will kill the deal, because um, they don't want to buy a lemon. They don't want to live with regret.
Right. Right. Yeah. They want to be shouldered with years worth of just, time and money sponge.
Right.
But where I'm going with this, Dr. Hall, is, you know, one, kind of knowing where most people are going to be during this time anyway. And then your specific client, let's put a single mom in that situation.
Hmm.
I mean, tell me, generally speaking, my guess is a single person that's a single mom with the child in the house, like, you see mold. If you haven't told them, hey, mold is pretty common and there's different degrees of concern with different types of mold. Anyway, my point is you got to precede the situation as best you can to help them understand what's going to happen. And then if I'm spending 5-10 minutes getting my head around the fact that my client wants to terminate and what that's going to do to my life and how I'm going to explain it to the listing agent and blah, 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 that's 5 or 10 minutes of them, shooting up. I got to know before the call comes up that this could be the conversation and get myself out of the way sooner than later so I can help them. Is that a good kind of example
Well,
to?
yeah, it's a great example because what you're talking about is, okay, I've got to make sure that I'm not freaking out myself, that I'm not worried that I have to tell my daughter she can't go to cheerleading camp because I didn't make this house sale. That's not where my head should be.
Right.
I just made that up.
I love it. Yeah, it's funny.
But I have to be focused on the way my client is thinking and feeling, and how many of these conversations have I practiced, and how much have I practiced what I'm going to tell this particular client about this particular house. The more experience you have, the more practice you have at seeing houses, you as a realtor are going to be able to probably guess what the inspector is going to find. And I'm going to use a word advisedly here because it's fairly controversial in the last 5 years, which is you have to inoculate your client against the information they're about to get. So you have to give them a small dose so they can prepare themselves for the larger dose of information. So if you're an experienced realtor, you can say, hey, here's some things I think the inspector is going to focus on. Boom, boom, boom. But you run down the list and say, when you see those, don't freak out. Okay, just know I knew they were going to be there. Now you know they're going to be there, and then we're going to figure out how we deal with it. Yep. And if they don't have that preview of, I call it a preview of coming attractions.
There you go. Love it.
So no one wants to go to a movie that they know nothing about, which is why they have previews,
trailer,
right?
Yeah.
So we can get a taste of what's going to come, and it sets our expectation. Oh, this is a horror movie. Okay, I don't want to go see that. So I know, right? And so you want to give them a preview of what's coming. That way they can adequately prepare themselves for what's coming next and set their expectations right.
Yeah,
and
I like not only setting their expectations of what we're going to see, but hey, these are going to be our options when we're there. If something's catastrophic, we'll bounce out. We'll terminate. Worst case.
We'll terminate.
But
right, but I will tell you, this is catastrophic. This is not catastrophic.
Yeah.
Here's how we fix it. And part of the practice that you must do as a realtor is some of it's mental practice, like how do I respond to this? And so you rehearse it mentally. But other times it's other times that you've seen stuff. And so you learn by seeing these things. Oh yeah, I saw this once before. Here's how we fixed it.
Right. Yeah. I can't tell them what we're going to do if I've never been through it and know what my options are.
Right. But the more experience, the more practice you have, the more solutions you can come up with. And so whenever somebody gets bad news, it stays bad news until there's an imagined solution.
Yeah.
Oh, Johnny has a fever. Okay, well, here's a solution to Johnny's fever. Oh, okay, I feel better already. It's not meningitis. Okay, that's yeah. So part of your job is here's the correct diagnosis. Here's our solution.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to this resonant leader, just kind of the definition. And the beauty of what we're setting here is a calm, trusted advisor that is keeping their cool, because the cooler and more collected, level-headed you are, I think it just naturally brings, right. Well, let me use it actually the inverse. The more anxious I become, they're going to feed off of that. Right.
Absolutely. Our emotions are contagious to other people. Mm-hmm. And that's part of it. It's called emotional contagion. And so the more self-possessed or self-controlled you are, and again, that's the second piece of emotionally intelligent people, is that they're self-possessed or self-controlled, is that you know how to control your emotions so that you're not giving off these emotions and infecting the people around you. So if you can also infect them with calm, you can infect them with clarity. but you have to have it first. So you
Yeah.
have to rehearse those things in yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Well, let's talk about the things that'll get in the way. I think we've kind of talked about what it is, how
Sure.
powerful it can become, and when we started this episode, like I said, it's kind of a mind reading type of skill. We've briefly touched on this before, but I think when your clients go, oh, they know kind of how I'm going to respond. They know that I'm going to need to hear, a good answer or a good proposed solution to this issue, and you're like, oh, this guy's guy clearly has it under control.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if, and they're not going to think at the level of, oh, it's good that they've practiced this so they know the answer. What all they think is, oh, okay, my anxiety is gone. Oh, okay, I feel better already. They don't have to know all the practice and rehearsal you've gone through to do this.
Yeah.
They just need to know how you made them feel in the situation. Let me use a different example. In surgery, surgeons and surgical teams talk very differently while the patient is unconscious than they do ahead of time.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
because what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a sense of calm in the patient. And then once the patient is unconscious, they don't have to create that calm. So they can turn on the music and they can, smart aleck with each other,
Yeah.
which is not going to, for the amateur, is not going to make them feel calm. So you have to realize that you as a realtor, you have a role to play as well. And you can't kind of just be authentically yourself, unedited all the time.
Yeah.
Your job is to create a sense of calm. And so
Yeah.
you have to be self-possessed.
Yeah. Well, I really love that example because to me, the first thing that popped in mind when you said it, depending on the doctors and the nurses and everybody's behavior, the response, like what it would be physiological, biological response of that patient and how they handle that surgery or whatever is going to be, could be night and day different
It
if they're
will be
all
night and yes. If they go in with fear, their body is responding in a way that uh, um, is not best for healing. And
right.
so part of what good surgeons and surgical teams do is they get people in the right mindset so that they are likely to heal better.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I saw like a meme or a video or something where it was a sick prank, and I'm sure it was just staged as a prank, but basically, as the patient was getting the anesthesia, they said, "Oh yeah, I hear we're amputating your left leg today or something." It was the opposite
That's
leg.
not a
It's
there is
not.
nothing funny about that.
No, there's not. But to your point, could you imagine the state of that guy's body if this was really to happen? The chemicals and just all manner of things during the surgery, blood pressure, everything would be non-conducive. Yeah,
Right.
not
Yeah.
conducive
Not
to that
conducive.
going well.
Exactly. So as a realtor, the same thing is happening with your clients. Um, they have anxiety. You're in a high stakes situation, and everything that you do can inoculate them against a bad response by the way you act, the way you speak, all of which is what resonant leaders do. They're self-controlled, and then they know how to calm the other people around them down, to take them from their anxious state, join them in that anxious state, recognize that they're there, and then draw them into calm.
Yeah,
Because ultimately, you as a realtor want your client to be able to make a good decision, and they can't make a good decision when they're freaking out.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's part of your job.
Yeah, and I actually had moved the attraction and the repulsion up as into the definition portion in the earlier slides, but I forgot to do it on the second one. But I think it's pretty appropriate here, oddly, in that as an agent, nobody wants to be ghosted, right? An agent that's put time and energy in helping a client, and all of a sudden they're wondering, why did I get ghosted? you know, I can pretty much tell you in my experience what I see. If you can't help them manage and maintain their anxiety and their fear and all that, like if you're not good at that, they want to get away from that. That fear,
Oh
that
yeah,
flight thing is going to kick in, and you're like, gee, I'm surprised they bailed
that,
because they never even addressed the fact that I'm getting anxious or that that thing was a big potentially a big concern. Like they made light of it.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. Uh, if you have a history of being ghosted by clients, what they'll do is they'll withdraw from a situation over which they'll withdraw from a situation that creates anxiety for them.
yeah,
And so if they're almost to the point of making a decision on a house and they have too much anxiety, they'll just abandon the decision.
yeah,
If they feel like there's too many choices, they won't choose,
yep,
and that's why you won't hear from them again.
yeah. Well, and conversely, if you're that calm, cool, collected, stable, confident person, man, like I want to do business with that person. You know,
Yeah, I mean because when people are in an anxious state, they aren't able to analyze as well logically, but they're still gathering all sorts of data about how they feel
hmm,
emotionally and physiologically. And the subconscious mind is also processing lots of data at the same time. And they may not have words for it, but they're recognizing, okay, I got a bad feeling about this. I don't know why, but it's there. And all of that's real.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I just want people to understand the importance of the energy, the feeling, the sense that people are getting from you, and it is true. I don't remember exactly verbatim how it's said, but it's basically people don't care what you say; they care how you made them feel, and
Right.
that could be from the jump, right? What's my first impression? Oh, that guy's you know approachable. He or she listens well. you know those are, again, you might not have said many words, but they're assessing, is this a person that I'm going to go into this arrangement, this home buying, home selling process with somebody that knows what they're doing, having said less than 100 words. And
Right.
they're going to
Right.
make that determination pretty quick, and then confirmation bias is going to come in later, right? Like, oh, I kind of thought this person was super flighty and not really well organized, and now I'm just looking for a reason why they can't do their job.
Exactly. And so, yeah, the confirmation bias, people will continue to look for information that supports their previous opinion. And so if they think you're irresponsible or flighty or distractible, they're going to find 1,000 examples of that. But if they think you're put together, you're sharp, you know what you're doing, they'll find more examples of that as well.
Yeah. Yep. Love it. Well, let's talk about this idea of what might get in the way of that resonant leader that seems to come across a little bit. I hate to kind of use these words, but really, you got to hit this, head on. And that's, are you selfish? Is this to get another transaction, to get a paycheck, to what did you say? Let your daughter go to band camp or something,
Cheer camp, yeah.
cheer camp. Okay. Yeah. Insert, benefit to you
Whatever it is,
here.
yeah.
Yeah. And, people see right through that. You know, I think, especially in this day and age, if they feel like I'm buying a house because you need me to buy a house, that's not a good feeling.
No,
And
it's an awful feeling. Yeah, I've been represented by a realtor at one point where about midway through, it was really clear that the realtor was funding something and needed this deal in order to fund that thing, and it's not a good feeling.
had nothing to do with your objectives, your goals, your best interest. Yeah.
No,
Does that make you feel icky? But I guess where I'm going with that in the context of this conversation is being that resonant leader that if that's in between you and your client, they're not going to trust you, right? Let me go back, to this slide here about resonant leader. That there's got to be this foundation or this platform of trust
there
before they're going to
does.
let
And so,
you.
so let me define the terms a little bit, and I think I'll define them differently than you have, which is selfishness versus selflessness. Nobody's in the real estate business out of the goodness of their heart. I mean, you
It's
do
not
it
a
to make
charity.
money. It's
Yeah,
not a charity. No, and even charities, there's always nobody's in a charity out of quote the goodness of their heart.
They got to keep the doors open.
Well, they got to keep the doors open, but it provides them a really good feeling, and that's reward. And that's, for some people, that's enough reward. And so I prefer the terms selfishness versus self-interested. Okay, because I don't even think charity is selfless. Okay, there's always a payoff. There's an emotional payoff. There's a status payoff, whatever it is. But selfishness means I'm going to look out for what's best for me, and I don't really care what happens to you. You're a means to an end. You're a thing in this endeavor. Self-interested means, yeah, I gotta earn some money here, but that's not the only thing. I'm interested in that, but in order to do that, I have to also be interested in you. And so it's definitely Stephen Covey's win-win situation. If you win, then I win. It isn't that if you lose, then I win. And so if you're selfish, you're setting it up in such a way that you're the only person who's going to win in the transaction. If you're doing it in a self-interested way, you recognize that, yes, it's important that I not lose money on this. I mean, people don't go into real estate in order that they lose money on every deal.
Right.
You have to pay out of your own. I mean, nobody would continue. So everybody realizes there's a self-interestedness in it, but they also recognize that only works if the client wins as well.
Right. I love that.
What you've always talked about is long-term repeat referral business. Okay, the only way that works is that if you make sure your client knows that they got the best deal you could possibly get them, well, that gets you that repeat business. That's your self-interest, is you make some money now and you get repeat business later. That's completely legitimate. That's how the free market works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So but your client always has to win. That has to be, because if they lose at all, you don't have that repeat business.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think where I was trying to convey is I think they need to fully believe that they're going to win, that not somebody else is trying to win at their expense. Otherwise, this whole foundation of, am I going to calm down to the point where I can hear the solution to this now new problem, or for whatever reason, why my anxiety went up. Something happened at work and now they're a little on the fence about what their work longevity is. Are they going to bring this up to you if there's a genuine conversation to be had there? Or, I can't tell them because they're going to worry about their paycheck.
Right. Right. So I think if you look at people who are successful, they will sometimes leave money on the table because they don't have to win all of the money. And it goes to the difference between an abundance versus a scarcity mindset. If there's plenty of money in the world, I don't need it all. I just need enough money for me. I don't have to have all the dimes in the world. Then you're going to do really well. If you have a scarcity mindset, is that there are a limited number of money in the world, and if you get more, that means I'll get less. Then you're always going to lose. Yeah.
Agreed. Well, so the next one I had is kind of this, what is your mindset, right? We talked about metacognition, thinking about your thinking. Well, if your mind's just tornado, insert, chaotic
box of snakes, whatever chaotic thing you can think of. Yes.
Yeah. How are you going to begin to even put yourself in that position where you're available for them? But versus, you kind of walk around calm, not because you're faking it because you need to be calm for people, but truly being calm inside your mind. whether it's meditation or prayer or, just a walk by yourself or whatever
Yep.
that looks like, not letting life put you in that frenzied state. That's the thing that I see getting in the way of that. What's your thoughts?
It's the number one hurdle that I have to deal with the clients that I work with is quieting their mind. Um, um, Everyone is so busy. Everyone is so inundated with noises and notifications, and everybody's got 47 different tones on their phone, and it's going off at all hours, and every tone means something different. And so you're looking, and it's so much that people don't ever quiet themselves down. And so the first task for everyone that I work with is to get their mind quiet and to have some sort of retreat. And very often the work that I do with people is that retreat.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not some sort of Buddhist monk, and we don't
Right.
burn incense and sit in a quiet place. But it really is concentrating and focusing on topics slowly and deliberately. And that time of quiet reflection is probably the most important thing that they have to do. I call it the long, hard look in the mirror. Is that first step is quietly evaluating yourself to know what your own state of mind is like.
Constantly, not just once.
Not just once,
It
but
just
many people, maybe not most, that's not fair or accurate. Many people are not able to be quiet. And Blaise Pascal said this back in the 1600s. The chief cause of man's unhappiness is he does not know how to stay quietly in his own rooms. I mean, that's 500 years ago. The
yeah,
guy was saying the problem then is the same problem as we have now, is
yeah,
that people don't know how to be quiet by themselves. They're always finding some amusement. And he called, some amusement, some hunting, gambling, or some amusing show.
yeah,
And so people would fill their lives with amusements, or what he called distractions.
yeah. I'm hoping this is a good analogy or metaphor, whatever you want to call it. But when I bought this house 5 years ago, I won't bore you with the details, but I really kind of had to rebuild everything, right? I had to get new furniture and wall hangings, and I kind of went into it just very minimalist, and I fell in love with minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is I did have to put things kind of strategically over the course of the last 5 years in my house, but I did it as methodically as I could. But what I did notice, when you put something in your house, and now all of a sudden you got to dust it, or you got to water it, or you got to vacuum it, or you know what I mean? You got to move it so you can vacuum it. Anyway, I hope this is a good comparison. But like when I go over to somebody's busy house that has stuff everywhere, like my mind kind of just, what the heck? It's just,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
You know
know.
what one of the most important books that I recommend is called Essentialism, and the subtitle is The Disciplined Pursuit of Less.
Mm,
And to me, everything you're talking about is if I add this thing to my house, I'll need to dust it, I'll need to maintain it, I'll need to or water it or feed it or whatever, and every possession you have, every activity that you do, there are maintenance costs to it. So
yeah,
whatever cool thing that you have, there are maintenance costs. I'll
yeah.
give you an example. I've always admired beautiful cars, and a friend of mine, we were doing some work together, and he said, "Oh, man, I am starved. I haven't had anything to eat. Can you drive over to Wendy's and pick me up?" And he gives me his order, and he throws me his car keys. Well, he's got a Porsche, so I'm driving his Porsche over to Wendy's in the drive-through, which is
Nice.
maybe not the best way to experience a Porsche. And I get back, I go, man, that's a really cool ride. And I'm thinking to myself,
Uh-huh.
one day. And then he goes down this litany. Oh yeah, I've got to get it detailed this weekend. You can't take those cars to the car wash because the brushes will affect the paint. And I got these brakes, but they're not really the right color because you can see them through the wheels. And so I've got these other brakes coming in from Germany. They're on order and they should be here, but then I've got to get those installed. So then I'm going to have to do, and I'm thinking,
That's a lot of work.
I don't want this car anymore.
Right.
I don't want the maintenance. I was like, I thought at that moment, it's like, oh, a Porsche for me is a rental. Cause
Yes.
I just want to get in the car, turn the car on and go.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do all this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I've been thinking about a dog for a while. And, I've got friends with multiple dogs and multiple birds and cats and I'll hear their stories, cat threw up, dog pooped, whatever it is. It's a lot.
So these for this guy owning and driving this Porsche, he got so much enjoyment, it was greater than the maintenance costs. And for some people, animals give them so much enjoyment, it's worth the maintenance costs.
Yeah.
You have to, for you, decide everything that comes into your house. Is it worth the maintenance costs?
Yeah. Well, I love the process of thinking through that. What is this going to mean to me in my life? It's like,
Yeah.
having a new close relationship. Um, I probably overanalyze that till the cows come home, but that's a thing.
Yes. Yeah.
How do I want to treat my significant other? Do I,
Mhm.
man, this is going to sound awful and I'm probably going to regret saying this, but some people require more, not maintenance, but they,
Maintenance.
oh, okay, than others, right? And
More tender loving care.
yeah,
than others.
and that's okay, whatever. But you have
Yeah.
to assess that. Like, am I in a position where I'm ready to give that person the love they need because they need a lot of love, they need a lot of attention, they need a lot of communication, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
And you just got to determine that. And sometimes it's, yeah, I care about that person, they're a great person, and whatever they need. Other times you're going to go like, I'm not ready for that. Like, I got, you know what I mean? I'm not there.
Right. And I think we can take this in terms of choosing clients. Is this a client that I like to solve the problems that they bring to the table? And if you do, great. And if you
Yeah.
don't, probably not a good client for
Yeah.
you.
If I'm identifying that they're going to make every problem, come up with every problem under the sun because they created it. Eh.
That's probably not the right person for you. And
But
and again, you're gonna find the people that you groove with better.
yeah.
But part of your long hard look in the mirror is recognizing, okay, I'm bringing my own stuff to the party. So what am I bringing, and
Yeah.
how do I weave that together with the client, what they're bringing, and is this a good match or is this not a good match? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And
Yeah.
recognizing you're not the objective purveyor of reality. You're part of interpreting reality. You're part of creating that interaction.
Yeah. Well, I love where you were going with that because I think about, if you're going to identify, are you a good fit for that client? Somebody that's just, what do you call them? Like a
Tornado magnet?
yeah, tornado magnet. And you just know that this is how it's going to go. The person that's the better, more experienced, more practiced resonant leader, bring it on. Like, I got this. Like, you're not going to throw anything at me.
If these are
So,
the kind of problems they like to solve, or
yeah,
if they're at a point where they go, you know what? Historically, I haven't done real well with these people, so I should probably refer them because
right.
they're going to be happier. I'm going to be happier. Life goes on. I don't have to have all the money.
Yeah. But but the one thing I was trying to point out here too is uh, the more practiced I am at this
Yes.
skill, the more clients I can not only help, but far exceed their expectations so they become repeat and referral business versus,
Because,
if there's a
yeah,
thousand
because,
and I can only help 100, that's not super helpful. But if I can help 800 out of 1,000, hey,
right. And the more experience you have solving their kinds of problems, you go, oh, I've seen this before. I know how to solve this. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Everybody wants the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million home. And the things that those people go through are way different than the first time home buyer, right?
Absolutely.
And
Different questions, different concerns, different different needs, and
responses, all that.
you have to know what those are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this one might be a little tough, but I did want to put it in there. So what about folks that kind of have mental or mood disorders? Like if I'm high anxiety as an agent, uh, you know, is it anxiety that I've created for myself? Am I on my second, third Red Bull or Monster for today? And am I just inclined to always be on the go? Or I literally have a mood or mental disorder? How am I going to become a good resident leader?
When I was a graduate student, I was walking through a bookstore that's no longer in existence, Borders Bookstore, and I saw on the shelf the brand new Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
And you
And
got
I
all
thought,
excited,
boy,
right?
no,
I'm
I
kidding.
already own one, and
I'm
I
just
looked
kidding.
at it and I go, that's going to be a mistake because people are going to open that thing up, and what happens whenever you take a psychopathology course, which is about mental disorders, suddenly for every category you go, that's me. I got that. And so what happens is at the end of the course, you think, I'm completely nuts. What you've done is you've over-identified a few symptoms as all the symptoms. And I think that, when you put the DSM on the bookstore shelf, people read that, or they go online and get the online version and they go, oh, that's me. I've got that. And my profession, their favorite tool is the diagnostic tool. And so they love to give everybody a diagnosis.
Sure.
And
That's what
I
they
think
do.
none of that is particularly helpful, because all a diagnosis is a convenient label to put on a group of symptoms.
Mm,
And it doesn't tell you anything to do with those symptoms.
mm,
It just says, oh, you've got, the real popular one now is you've got ADD or you've got ADHD. And it's like, okay, so what?
right.
Now what?
Yeah.
What do I do with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so none of that is helpful. And the labeling tends to put people in victim categories. Well, I can't do that because of my ADHD. Well, I can't do that because I got anxiety. I can't
They
do that
don't even
because I got
try.
depression. So they don't even try. And so what it does is that labeling, it may create some level of knowledge, but it doesn't create any level of efficacy or for what can I do. And I see this over and over again with many of the elite business owners that I work with. They're a little bit scattered. They're entrepreneurs. They got 8 zillion things going on. They're a little forceful. They they speak up when they shouldn't. They acted out in class. They weren't particularly good students because they were always distracted thinking about going to hunting squirrels. And so they go, my wife says I have ADHD, and so I should probably be medicated. It's like, it's time out. All of the stuff that got you here to this level of success is all the stuff everybody says is a pathology.
Yeah.
And so when we look at say anxiety is a really functional response. If you've got an anxiety disorder, it's a
Hmm.
malignant level of an effective response.
That's the key,
Okay,
right? Is the malignancy becomes the
is it
issue,
yeah?
not
And one of the
symptoms.
things, right? And one of the things I talk about, people go, "Oh, I've got OCD. I've got OCD." One of my clinical specialties when I was a clinician was obsessive compulsive disorder. And I've worked with people with obsessive compulsive disorder, and they're miserable.
Mm.
I mean, their lives are locked up and very miserable.
You don't
These
know what
people,
you're saying.
you don't know what you're saying. Are you a little OC? Yeah, but pretty much everybody who's conscientious is a little OC,
Yeah.
and
You have
people who are
obsessive
conscientious,
compulsiveness, but you don't have the disorder.
you don't have the disorder. And so I call it OCA, the obsessive compulsive advantage.
Oh,
Now, if you've
nice.
got the disorder, then yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
most people don't have the disorder.
Yeah.
And if you have the disorder, you're miserable.
Yeah.
You really
Yeah.
are.
Careful what you say, careful what you tell yourself, and careful what you do about it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of the widespread use of diagnostic categories on people, because I don't think they're efficacious in helping people improve their lives. They may create a little understanding, but then so what?
Right.
And it makes malignant some things that are advantageous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd heard, and this has been said a long time, but a lot of entrepreneurs are successful because they are, I don't remember if it's ADHD or,
Yeah,
whatever their inclination is like the reason
They're
why they can do
squirrely.
what they can do is because that's how they think.
They're squirrely. I mean,
Yeah.
they're squirrely. They're quirky. I've seen it all. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think Richard Branson was a good student? No, he's an awful student. And those were all the qualities that made him a billionaire.
Yeah.
And now we want to pathologize that.
Yeah.
Did he need help? Did he need people around him? Yeah, he absolutely did. But do you want to pathologize that? The guy loves his employees. He's made a ton of money for people. He's provided wonderful services for people. Quit diagnosing the guy.
Yeah. Well, if he took your diagnosis, opted to say I can't do any of these things, and got on drugs, he'd never accomplish. Well, I don't know about never, but you know what I mean. It's just
Yes.
so be careful, be aware of who you are, what you're inclined to do. If you have that OCA, does it make it harder to be a good resident leader? Maybe, but does it make it impossible? No, it doesn't make it
I'm
impossible.
not sure. I'm not sure it makes it even harder. Again, all of these qualities in the right amount are useful and advantageous. It's only when they become in malignant amounts. And what is malignant to one person is maybe not malignant to another.
Yeah, yeah, I wondered because I don't know if I've never been diagnosed with anything, but I could have if I had been. Maybe I'd gone down a different path because I could have got into that victim mentality and all that. But
Exactly.
I'm able to go all over the place. I've had multiple kind of careers in my life, and I don't have any problem kind of adjusting to a new thing as much as kind of the average bear, from what I understand. But um, understand who you are, what you're good at, what things might be in your way potentially, but look at how it can yield a positive result instead of a negative result. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. So we might have already talked about the busyness and distraction, right? What am I putting in my house? You know, just, but so we talked about it a little bit, but what I want to hone in on a little bit is, we talk about this holistic person, right? We're not just trying to help you be good at being a real estate agent, but you're a better real estate agent if your, finances are in order, if your health is in check, if you know what I mean, the other
Yeah,
10.
I mean, I have guys. I teach them how to interact more effectively with their employees, and invariably they come back to me and they go, "Hey, this has really helped me at work, but I'm really like getting along with my wife better now." It's like, did you know that would happen? Yeah,
You're a better
you're the
person.
same person everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, so that relaxation, that calmness, that restoration. Did you call that earlier? Kind of.
I don't think I used that word today, but it's a great term. Yeah,
Yeah. So what does that mean? You go away and you practice your metacognition. You
yeah,
know, and I talked to you just briefly before the show. So this is a kind of a personal thing here, but I'm kind of curious. Is my approach to all this is quiet the mind so that it's not distracted. Analyze what thoughts are inclined to come in my head and why, and then what those thoughts are typically translating to, meaning what emotion can be kicked off from there. Even why am I thinking about X versus Y? Why didn't I think about Z? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So quiet the mind, kind of analyze and understand the mind, and then elevate the mind, which is the analysis. And it sounds overly complicated, but really, that's my version of metacognition to kind of remove a lot of that busyness and distraction and chaos in my mind. Is that?
yeah. I talk about it in my book Expedition, which is my leadership guidebook. I also think I talk about it in Staying Happy, Being Productive. It's thought monitoring, thought stopping, thought replacement, which are essentially the same things you're talking about. And it's an exercise that I prescribe for people that can help them develop metacognition.
Yeah, I just made it long-winded, and you made it succinct.
I've also been thinking about it for decades. So
Right.
I
would have caught up to you eventually. Well, I don't know. You're much smarter than I am,
It's
so
not a competition.
I know. I'm just kidding. But Anyway, well, this is all really good stuff. We're now about 10 minutes shy of an hour, but I think we've covered a lot of ground and hopefully provided a lot of value to our listeners. Um, so just to wrap things up, I hope everybody takes away the power that there is in being a resident leader, the need for practicing that, exercising that, getting improving at that, to be the best you that you can be, so that you can be a better version of yourself for others. And these are the things that could potentially get in the way. I'm sure there's probably others, and maybe we'll have a follow-up episode, but hopefully that just kind of wraps things up. Is there anything you can think of, Dr. Hall, that you'd like to kind of just add?
Practice, practice, practice. You want to get good at this, you got to practice your interactions with people in unstructured environments with age-related peers, negotiating disagreements, and you'll over time get better and better at this.
Love it. Love it. Perfect. Well, let's make sure, if you can tell the folks the best way to get a hold of yourself and access to your resources.
Yeah, best way to get in touch with me is through my website, Dr. Roger Hall, drrogerhall.com. And if you go there, you can find out about my books, about the executive consultation and corporate consultation work that I do. I've got 3 books that I've already published. I'm working on the 4th book, which is DIY Leader Brain, which is going to be actually all about the stuff we've talked about today. So if you want, look for that in the future. I've got a couple online courses that I'm developing. One is called Freak Out, and the other is Expedition, where we go through the content of my leadership guidebook.
Yeah, so tons of resources and all kinds of ways to get in touch with you. I highly encourage folks to reach out. Go get his books on Amazon. Start reading them. If you want to reach out to us and see how we can help you with your real estate business, like I said, it's a holistic approach. We're not just here to teach you kind of real estate specific tools and skills, but also kind of this vein, how to, put yourself in the right mindset, so that you can level up, because we need to, right? People need us,
Yeah.
in major ways for this stuff. So anyway, awesome.
All right.
Great stuff,
Thanks for
Dr.
having
Hall.
me.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you later. Have a blessed one.